Welcome to the last segment of our district conference installment plan. We want to thank everybody for being a part of the district conference tonight. We ask you to stay muted as much as possible during the conference, starting now. If you have any questions during the meeting, please post them on the general chat available to you, and we'll address them later in the meeting. We'd like to start off the meeting today with the invocation, followed by a moment of silence, followed by the pledge led by Walt McCool, followed by the four-way test led by Katie Ridge. So if you would, hang on while I figure out how to. Okay. If you would, bow your head with me for the invocation. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to get together as Rotarians with new technology that helps us to keep us safe. We ask for your guidance on our meeting tonight, that it is your glory that shines through our work as we serve as your hands to make this a better world to live in for all people. We ask for your hands on our first responders and our world leaders, that you continue to watch over and guide them as well, and let your presence be felt by those who are hurting tonight, that you lift them up and provide healing. It is all these things that we ask in your holy name. Amen. In light of activities in our nation, let's have a moment of silence for George Floyd and his family, for victims of the protest, for business owner losses, and for COVID-19 losses and impacts as well. Let us remember the ultimate goal of Rotary is world peace. Amen. And our pledge will be done by Assistant Governor Walt McCool, member for the White Rock Rotary Club. Walt?
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our four-way test will be led by Katie Ridge, president of the Greenville Rotary Club.
Please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Rotary. All right, and thank you all for being a part of that. I'm going to introduce our governor now to give the announcements and get the meeting on go. So if you would, please welcome for our last conference, Governor Beverly Grogan.
Hi guys, thank you all so much for being here tonight. We're going to start off with just a very few announcements because it's that time of year where everything is happening. So we just got to cover just a few announcements. We'll have our next and last roundtable of this year. It'll be next Saturday on June the 13th. Starts at 10 o'clock. We're having an abbreviated roundtable because at 11:15 we will move into the business meeting. All are encouraged to attend the business meeting, and this will be via Zoom. We will not have it in person. So everybody is encouraged to attend. However, only electors are allowed to vote. And the deadline was extended until this Saturday. So please check with your club and make sure that you all have your representative ready and ready to go and know how they're going to vote on the 13th. Not only do we have some MOP amendments, but we also have the privilege of selecting a Council on Legislation representative. That only happens every 3 years. So that's an important thing, and everybody's gotten their information on that. We'll probably do a resend just to remind everyone. We are going to, and the elector names, by the way, they need to go to the district secretary by this Saturday. On June the 19th, we are going to take in a little of that Hawaii atmosphere that Howard and Susie were talking about, because we're going to have an aloha party. We can't be in Hawaii, so Hawaii's going to come to us. It's going to come to Dallas. So I want you to wear your Hawaiian shirts, and we'll be giving some instructions on what else you'll need to enjoy yourselves and maximize your pleasure at that particular event. We have very special guests that night. It will be RI President Mark Maloney and First Lady Gay Maloney. It'll be at 7 o'clock via Zoom, same time, same channel. So I look forward to seeing everybody and their beautiful Hawaiian regalia. And we'll have a lot more information on that. Our district governor installation, very important day, is June 25th. Mr. Mosier will take over as we pass the pen to him for his 2021 year. And so, John, do you have any news on that?
Not yet. We had some good news from the governor now. He's allowed 10 people at a table now. So hopefully our ranch will break down and let us do it. So we'll know in a day or so.
Okay. Well, we will look forward to that. Watch your emails and also watch the website for registration for that. We will have our awards ceremony on July the 18th. Instructions did go out this week on the awards. Submissions are due June the 22nd. We're reviving the Star Award this year, and what that is one person in each club that the club writes the criteria for. You all decide what it is that you want to honor, but if there's one person who's gone over and beyond and helped the club out in every way possible, put them up for the Star Award for your club. There's opportunity for every single club to have a Star Award recognized. So I hope that we can do that. We don't know if that's going to be Zoom or not. We're going to be checking with that venue. So registration will be announced as we get closer to the event, but it will be on that date regardless, July the 18th. And our last announcement is about conference t-shirts. District conference always has a shirt, and we've talked about this, and Glenn has a show and tell for us. Glenn, can you put that up for us?
Sure.
Okay. We have actually a picture of what the shirts will look like. Now, the color is not representative. They will be navy blue with white writing. They won't be that French blue. But it has Zoom conference installment plan on it. It's got Zoom University Class of 2020. And it's also got a theme that we wanted to emphasize: dream it, believe it, achieve it. On the back, it shows you can see it there a little bit, the master brand with service above self. So we purposely designed this where you may want to wear these to your service projects. They're $20. $5 of that goes to Polio Plus. You must order your shirts. We're going to be putting in our order. We're only going to order once. You must have those shirt orders in by June 10th. That's a week from today. And so if you want to have that or share that with your club, we can send out the pictures if you like. But we need to get those finalized so that we can have those. So without further ado on announcements, let me make sure our speaker has arrived. Didn't see his name a while ago. Mr. Hewko, are you with us? Yes, you are. Okay, very good. Well, we have a real treat tonight. And we also have, by the way, before I introduce our speaker, we do have some very special guests. In addition to all of you, which are always special guests, we have our RI Zone Director-elect, Susie Howell. And she only has 27 more days, and she can drop that elect, right, Susie? We are very honored that you are with us. So thank you so much for coming tonight. She was our keynote speaker for our first session. So what a delight. Well, we have tonight the General Secretary and the CEO of Rotary International. John Hewko is pretty impressive. He sent me his bio, and I'm going to read this in part. And I do want to read it because I don't want to leave out any of the incredible accomplishments that he's been able to do. He was Vice President for Operations and Compact Development for the Millennium Challenge Corporation, which is a United States governmental agency that was established to deliver foreign assistance to the world's poorest countries. And he was the principal United States negotiator for foreign assistance and those agreements to 26 countries in Africa, Asia, South America, the Middle East, and the former Soviet Union. During his tenure, he completed the negotiation of assistance agreements totaling $6.3 billion to 18 countries for infrastructure, for agriculture, for water and sanitation, health, and education projects. Some of those words kind of ring a bell, don't they? Before he was with MCC, he was with an international law firm, and he helped establish that firm's Moscow, Russia office. So he was the managing partner for that in Kiev and in Prague. While he was working there in the Ukraine, he assisted the working group that prepared the initial draft of the new Ukrainian post-Soviet constitution and was a charter member of the first Rotary Club there in the Ukraine, in that city. He has been a public policy scholar at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, an adjunct professor of law at Georgetown University, and a visiting scholar at Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. If you've ever studied any of our peace locations, those are three incredible institutions, and John has had a part in all of them. He's published papers and articles. He is a leading authority on political and business issues dealing with the former Soviet Union, on Central Europe and Africa, Latin America, and he is a member of the Council of Foreign Relations. And so as General Secretary, John leads a very diverse staff of 800 at our world headquarters there in Evanston. And he and Marga are major donors to the foundation. Of course, they live in Evanston, and we are so pleased all the way from Evanston, Illinois. Please help me give a 5810 welcome to John Hewko. John? Silent applause, sir.
Well, thank you so much, Beverly, for that very generous introduction. Appreciate the opportunity to speak at this virtual district conference. 5810 is a great Rotary district, and I'm delighted to be with you this evening. Perhaps what I can do is start with what I would usually finish my speeches with, particularly in light of the difficult situation that the United States is currently going through. And of course, obviously, we had the terrible tragedy of the COVID pandemic, and now the events that have transpired over the last few weeks here in the United States, and really start by what I usually would close these remarks by, and to say that, you know, the world kind of needs Rotary now more than ever. In fact, in some ways, Rotary was really built for moments like this. You know, we have deep community roots in almost every community in the world. I like to say there's not a politician in the world that doesn't have a Rotarian as a constituent. We were built for moments like this. And if one looks at the broader issue of peace and conflict resolution and bringing people together, I mean, we have just an incredible 115-year history in the space, starting with, you know, at the macro level, the involvement of Rotarians and Rotary in the United Nations, the chartering of the UN in San Francisco in 1945, UNESCO direct outcrop of a resolution passed at a Rotary event in London. Our Peace Scholar program, where we've more than 1,000 young men and women have been trained and received master's degrees and certificate degrees through the Rotary Peace Scholar program. Our youth exchange, bringing people together, bringing people from different continents and cultures and bridging these differences. Our youth exchange programs had a huge role in that space through the decades. In fact, I have the privilege often of representing Rotary at significant international events, at World Economic Forum, Davos, places like that. And I tell you, often I'll run into Fortune 500 CEOs, heads of state, ministers, and I'll say I'm with Rotary, and they'll say, "Oh, Rotary, yeah, I was a youth exchange student in Chile in high school, and it changed my life. I am who I am today thanks to Rotary." And I'm very happy and proud to hear that. And I'll say, "Oh, sir, you stayed in touch with Rotary? Do you have any idea of what we're up to?" And they'll say, "No, I don't. But I do know it changed my life." And so sort of as a separate topic, there's a huge pool of potential supporters of Rotary that we're sort of leaving on the table, that kind of Rotary alumni, people who participated in our programs through the years, whose lives have been fundamentally changed by Rotary. And we've kind of lost touch with them. But again, our youth program has contributed greatly to the cause of greater human understanding. The lessons we've learned from polio and the work we did in polio, our community work in countries where we were having opposition to the vaccination campaigns. We would come in, we'd work with local community leaders, we'd build bridges, we'd sort of bring down the barriers and bring down the walls. The work we do in our 6 areas of focus. Obviously, we have the peace and conflict resolution is one of the 6, but in the other 5, those activities are also directly impact the creation of the conditions for peaceful societies. We've been working very closely, as you may be aware, with the Institute of Economics and Peace. And what that think tank does is they try to quantify empirically what are the drivers of peaceful societies. In other words, the concept of positive peace, not what leads to conflict, but what leads to a peace. And it's clear from the data that the work we do in our other 5 areas of focus, whether it be water and sanitation or literacy, maternal and child health, disease prevention and treatment, community development, is directly leads to creating the conditions for a peaceful society. So in effect, you may be passionate about water, but you're also a peacemaker. You may be passionate about literacy, but you're also contributing to the cause of world peace. And of course, we have this tremendous convening power as an organization at the local and regional level. So I say all that to say that the world is living through a very difficult time now, whether it be COVID or the events that are unfolding in the United States as we see on our television screens every day. In my view, this is our moment. This is our moment to continue to do what we're doing, and if anything, step up the game. We're uniquely positioned. We were built for moments like this. This is our moment. So just putting that off to the side for a second, let me perhaps begin by just giving you a global sense from Evanston, at least a view of where we stand today as an organization. Now, back in January of this year, it became very obvious to me that this pandemic, which had begun in China, was going to sweep the globe. And so we put together a COVID task force right away to sort of get ready for what we're doing now, the need to go to this new virtual reality. So we took 2 months to get ready. I sent the entire secretariat home. We have about 750 employees of Rotary International around the world, 550 in Evanston, and another 200 in our offices outside of North America. We did a trial run to see what it would be like to run Rotary virtually for a day. And I'm glad we did. We got some kinks out of the system. And on March 12th, we went to full virtual work at home status. And I must say that I'm very pleased and proud that we've been able to make that transition almost seamlessly. And we're able today, as I speak, to provide that same high level of service to Rotarians that we were doing prior to the crisis. And so my message to you on that front is that today, as I speak, Rotary is operationally very, very sound. Now, I also get a lot of questions about, okay, what's going to happen to membership? Obviously, we're in a very difficult situation, as I've said, what's going to happen to our membership base? And, I like to sort of manage with data, not based on intuition or hunch. And we're very fortunate to have on staff a PhD statistician. And so what I asked him to do is to take a look at the last 115 years of Rotary history. And based on that, first of all, understand what happened in the past in terms of how Rotary fared when we had all the great crises and world wars in the past, but then also look at the past data and try to extrapolate out using sophisticated modeling what we would anticipate happening to our membership going forward. And what's interesting is there's only 1 year in our history, and that was in 2 years after the end of the Great Depression, where we saw a significant drop in membership, and that was a little over 5%. In all the other great tragedies and pandemics and world wars, we've seen, to the extent there were drops in membership, of 2%, 1%. In fact, some years we saw increases in membership. In the last crisis, 07, 08, the financial crisis, we saw membership drops of under 1% in each of those years. So, you know, if the past is any judge of the future, we've not suffered significant membership losses in these difficult times. And when the modeling was done to project out going forward, with sort of 95% probability, it's highly unlikely that our membership would suffer more than 1 or 2% if it were to suffer at all. And remember, 1% drop in membership represents an $800,000 loss of revenue to Rotary. And so if it even were to drop 5%, which has happened just once in our history, that would represent a $4 million loss of revenue. And, you know, Rotary leadership through the years has been very prudent, very conservative with our money. And we do have very solid reserves, almost 70 million in Rotary International, which is good, solid reserve that should enable us to weather almost any crisis. And similarly, the Rotary Foundation has very solid reserves to see us through several years worth of operating expenses. So we're operationally strong, and we're also, in my view at least, financially strong. A lot of questions about what Rotary is doing in responding to COVID and what have we done globally in that area. And as many of you know, the trustees of the foundation allocated $3 million to the COVID disaster response fund. Any district, every district can apply for one grant of up to $25,000 for COVID-related activities, and they can use that for COVID-related activities. We also got an additional 1.8 million in contributions to that fund from cash contributions from Rotarians, also a DDF from districts. And as you're aware, we had to unfortunately cancel the convention in Honolulu. We're going to be having a virtual convention, and everyone's getting a full refund for their registration fees. And you do have the option of channeling your refund to the COVID response fund. And so we've moved about $4.7 million, $4.8 million out of that fund to districts. And in addition, we've received around $13 million worth of global grant requests that are specifically COVID related. So once those grants monies are dispersed, and in the 4.7 or 4.8 that we've now dispersed under the disaster response of grants, it's about $17, $18 million that we've moved in a very relatively short period of time for COVID-related activities. And that, of course, doesn't even touch the enormous activity that's going on at the club and district level. And the stories abound of PPE, providing PPE, food, working, helping. I mean, you name it, Rotarians have really stepped up across the world and are doing fantastic things with respect to these COVID issues. A lot of questions on polio. What's going to happen to polio? And now that we're living in this new social distancing reality. And unfortunately, we've had to suspend a lot of the door-to-door vaccination campaigns. There'll be some, I understand, some smaller campaigns in certain pockets, but by and large, the door-to-door vaccine, the national immunization days have been suspended. However, we continue doing all the surveillance work. And what's quite good is that a lot of the the polio infrastructure is now being repurposed for COVID-related activities. You may recall several years ago when we had that Ebola outbreak in West Africa, the polio infrastructure was very successfully redeployed to help stop the spread of Ebola, particularly in Nigeria. And so, that's good news. We still need to continue to fundraise for polio. The 2-to-1 Gates match is still in effect. We need to make sure we raise that $50 million this calendar year so we can get that $100 million match from the Gates Foundation. So I would urge you and urge all your fellow Rotarians to continue to contribute to the polio fund. We need to hit that 50 million to be able to fully maximize on the Gates match. Looking forward, what's going to happen going forward? I talked a bit about what we anticipate happening in the membership front, but in terms of for our organization, what does all this mean? This new reality for our organization? And again, this is a difficult time. There's no doubt about it. COVID, the events happening in the United States, no question, a difficult time. But often in a crisis, it's a lot of black clouds there, but you occasionally see a few white ones pop up and some silver linings. And I do think there is a silver lining in all this. And that is that we've been trying now for a bit to really push the concept of club flexibility, doing things in a new and different way, the increased use of technology. And what this crisis did is it forced the entire world, Rotary world, almost overnight to completely change the way we've traditionally done things, other than, of course, the e-clubs, which have always operated in this virtual space. And so, for me, we do have a membership issue in North America. I think we're all aware of that. We've been flat for 1.2 million members for the last 25 years globally, and that's largely because of growth in the developing world. And we've been seeing loss of membership in the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the UK. North American Rotarians today make up 29% of overall worldwide Rotary membership. It started, back in 1905 at 100%. So we're down from 100% down to 29 and dropping. And so for me, a big part of our sort of membership challenge, particularly in North America, is, in some ways we're selling a product to the marketplace. And that product, we're not selling bleach or we're not selling, soap. We're selling a club experience. And you pay for that experience with your time and your money. And we're finding in many cases, people are either not buying our product, or if they buy it, it isn't what they thought it would be. Last year we had 150,000 people join Rotary, and we had 150,000 people leave Rotary. And so for me, part of our sort of long-term solution and strategy needs to be to create a more diversified product line, to modify our traditional product. Where it's working, carry on. But where it's not being as successful as it should be, we need to change for the market. The market's not going to change for us. And so we need to develop a more diversified product line and club experiences and club models that are going to be more attractive to the demographic or to the community that we're trying to reach and trying to be attractive to. And so this moment that we're in right now, I think gives us an excellent opportunity to really step back and think about change, think about doing things differently in a thoughtful way. And perhaps begin working in a new way and developing these diversified product lines that will help us grow our membership and make us more attractive. So I see actually some positive opportunities coming out of the current situation. Let me close with just 6 sort of concrete calls to action to the Rotary world writ large. And the first has to do with Rotaract. We've been working very, very hard to elevate Rotaract. Rotaract clubs are now members of the Association of Rotary Clubs. And it's, but 95% of Rotaractors do not become Rotarians. 5% do. And that's a tragedy. We're losing 95% of Rotaractors who are young men and women who are passionate about Rotary, believe in our values. And by the way, when we talk about change in Rotary, what can never change are our core values, the 4-way test, the focus on ethics, the fellowship, that will never change. But what can change is the way in which we deliver our values. And so we really, in my view, we need to do a much better job of embracing Rotaract, facilitating the glide path from Rotaract to Rotary. And this gives us an excellent opportunity. They live in this space. They're very comfortable in this space. This is, again, an excellent opportunity to strengthen those ties we have with Rotaractors because, we're in their medium. And let's, work with them they've got tremendous creativity in terms of making our meetings more interesting, more effective ways that we can use technology. I think this is a great opportunity to strengthen our ties with Rotaract. Number 2, member retention. We want to come out of this crisis stronger, at least as strong as we were going into it. And that means we need to, for sure, retain our members. And our studies and the various surveys we've done and the analysis of the data shows that the longer one is in Rotary, the less likely one is to leave. And that the real dangers where we see the most departures from Rotary are those people who've been in Rotary 2 to 3 years. That's the danger point. When if people tend to leave, it tends to be in that second and third year. So we need to focus on retention, engaging our members, particularly those who are newer to Rotary, because at least at a macro level, statistically, they tend to be the ones that are most prone to leave our organization. Third, projects. We tend to do our projects with people getting together and doing things. Well, in the short and medium term, that's going to be very, very difficult to do. So we need to really put our creative thinking caps on, 1.2 million Rotarians, and really think out of the box on how are we going to do our projects in this new environment. I don't have the silver bullet, but I think if we all put our heads together, if we start working with our Rotaractors more closely, we will come up with creative models for doing projects in this new normal that we're now faced with. Number 4, and it kind of piggybacks off the third point, fundraising. Most of our fundraising activities are pancake days, bike-a-thons, $1 million dinners. Again, people coming together, which is not going to be possible, at least for the shorter medium term. So how are we going to continue fundraising in this new environment? And again, we need to really be creative. And I don't know, I was on a call a couple weeks ago with Rotarians in Ukraine, and one of the clubs there, pointed out they had a very successful fundraiser. It was a virtual beer fest. And they're buying and selling virtual beers online. And I think somebody at the end of the day did get a case of beer delivered to their home. But that worked in Ukraine, highly successful. They're now doing a follow-up with a vodka fest, and as a fundraiser. So I think we need to really get creative about how we're going to raise money. And for me, the sort of holy grail on this is the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, where they raised $300 million or whatever the number was. People pouring ice all over themselves, including me, and it cost them nothing. And so we need to be equally creative and come up with things like that. 5, we're hearing anecdotally about clubs being more connected than ever. Clubs that we used to have 50% membership attendance, and now we're getting 90 because it's so easy, it's so convenient. We're also able to be connected more than ever. I mean, a couple weeks ago I was on a Zoom meeting, giving a speech to 1,700 Brazilians. And then I got off of that and did one for 400 Rotarians from Turkey and the Middle East, and on and on. And it's, we have 69 people on this call. So we are in some ways connected more than ever, but I do suspect that there are clubs that aren't meeting. A couple of us are struggling and having difficulty. And if a club goes, 4, 5, 6 months without meeting, that club is done. It's over. And so to the extent we're aware of clubs that aren't, they're struggling, whether it be technology or just lack of inertia, let's really identify them, work with them, support them to make sure that they continue to be engaged, because if they go through, again, a cycle of 4 or 5 months without meeting, we can be pretty confident that those clubs are going to not survive after we come out of this crisis. And finally, let me just say the sky for Rotary, the world is going through a very difficult time, but I think for Rotary, the sky is not falling. We're operationally sound, we're financially sound. And as I said, the world needs Rotary now more than ever. We were built for this moment. Now is our moment. What was it? Herb Brooks, the US hockey coach in 1980, right before they went on the ice to play the Soviets, if I remember the movie correctly, he said, "This is our moment. This is our moment." I'm sure I'm paraphrasing. For Rotary, this is our moment. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for all that you've done, what you're doing. The response of Rotarians around the world to the events occurring around us have been absolutely extraordinary. Again, this is our moment, and we in the Secretariat are really here to support you in any way that we can. So Beverly, thank you again for having me. It's been great. And of course, I'm happy to take any sort of questions or comments or thoughts the participants may have, but thanks again.
Well, thank you, John. We really appreciate so much your insights. Guys, you have the opportunity to put some questions in during the chat box. Glenn, have you gotten any of the questions?
Well, of course, the first question I think is addressed to you, Beverly, is June 10th a hard deadline, or will there be other dates when we can decide? I come from a school club, and it would be more convenient to order for us after we know a better count. And then
We can extend that. It's just that some folks were anxious who have already ordered, but we'll extend that deadline. So thank you. We'll do that. And they're talking about the t-shirt guys.
yeah, as far as the details, is that posted somewhere on our website or somewhere?
It absolutely is. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay. So, all right. Second question is to our guest speaker, and that is how many polio cases at this time? Do you know, John? John, you're muted. You need to unmute.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I had these are from about a week ago, so maybe slightly elevated, the actual one today. But back in last year, we had from Pakistan 147 cases, 29 from Afghanistan, total of 176 for the year. As of, I believe, last week, we were at about 49 out of Pakistan, 12 out of Afghanistan for total of 61. Although I suspect that number is probably slightly higher today. So yeah,
Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Yeah, those are the two. Those are the two. And we've had not large, many of vaccine-derived cases in different countries. But in terms of wild polio cases, the last two endemic countries are Afghanistan and Pakistan. We were hoping this year to declare Nigeria polio-free, and there still haven't been any wild cases. And but with COVID now, we'll see. The vaccination campaigns around the world are sure being affected by the social distancing and the crisis.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly, Vivi, one of our Rotaractors, wanted to thank you for mentioning Rotaract and bringing, mentioning it there's a big part of Rotary it should be today.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I'm delighted we got Rotaractors with us. And again, I really hope that we can take advantage of this opportunity to strengthen those ties between Rotaractors and Rotarians.
John, Vivi was one of the 60 that attended the International Assembly, so we're very proud of her.
Oh, great.
And so we appreciate her being she is often at our district events, so we're very pleased with that. Anyone else have a question for John?
Not a question, but the comment, this John Moser, Vivi's actually on my staff next year. She is the Rotaract director.
Yeah, terrific. In fact, governors now have the ability to appoint Rotaractors to district-wide positions. And I know many governors have availed themselves of that. Many governors are making, we're planning on making Rotaractors co-chairs of their district conferences. And so I think there's a real opportunity now to sort of move on that front. So that's great. That's great, John. That's good.
We know where the talent is.
Yeah.
John, Dan Clemson is asking if we have a successful program for new members' first 2 years.
Well, I think I mean, really, it's really up to each club to figure out what they need to do. But I think what's clear from, at least globally, from the data is that those clubs that immediately engage new members, immediately give them an assignment. Those much higher success rate of retaining somebody than they come, they sit back. Takes them 2 years to figure out what's going on, haven't broken into the old cliques or whatever the issue might be. Those are the ones that tend to leave. So it's at least a universal theme seems to be, and of course it's different club by club. Each club has its own dynamic and culture, of course, but it's early and aggressive engagement of new members with assignments, with things to do. That seems to be, but I don't think there's a worldwide formalized program that we've rolled out for, first 2 years of membership. I may be wrong, but I don't think there is one. But again, each club's so different that it is really incumbent on each club to really figure out what works.
Thank you, John.
John, this is Howard Templin. Quick question for you about Rotaract. It doesn't seem to be any kind of a organized system for following up where the Rotaractors are going after graduation. Has there been any thought given to how to do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a challenge we face in North America, certainly, where our Rotaract clubs tend to be more university-based. In Europe and other places, they're more community-based, right? So it's a different dynamic. And here, to come for 4 years and then they're gone. I mean, universities obviously have been extremely successful in tracking their alumni. And so what we're doing is we're really beefing up the My Rotary piece, which we'll be rolling out within the next year of Rotaract in the database, Rotaractor access to that access for Rotarians to Rotaract information, et cetera. So that's coming, but it's really an area where we need to really improve on. And again, universities have been successful. And I mean, we do have GDPR concerns, privacy concerns, and you know, there's a whole, it's a relatively complex issue, but the short answer, Howard, is we need to do a better job of tracking our Rotaractors and staying in touch with them.
John, this is John Moser again. In the Rotary database, we have 500 or 600 alumni, including Rotaractors in there. And my challenge is, I'm looking for right now someone to fill the position of alumni chair to go hunt these people down and bring them back in, including the Rotaractors.
Absolutely, that's a great. I mean, you know, again, U.S. universities are very successful at it, and you know, we are building up. You know, the Peace Fellows have their own alumni association now. We have been building alumni associations in various parts of the country. People participate in RILA, Rotaract. You know, that's sort of part of the Rotary family. But you know, at the end of the day, Rotary begins and ends at the club and district level. So, John, fantastic initiative, and it'd be great if we had every district in the country sort of did the similar thing. You know.
John, we got a question from Bill Bexley, who's saying there used to be a resource material for various leadership positions. Example, vocational youth services. Do they still exist?
You know, I don't know off the top of my head. Bill, maybe just, you know, shoot me an email, john.hewko@rotary.org, and with your question, and I'll get the right person in the secretary to get back to you on that.
I hate to keep horning in, but in the Learning Center, there's a lot of really good information in the Learning Center about all kinds of positions.
Yeah, I mean, there is training material. I mean, there's no question about it, and the Learning Center is quite good, and we've really beefed up and strengthened. It's much better. The new Learning Center with a lot of e-learning modules, etc. I just don't know about these specific ones. Whether I suspect they do, but let me get you the accurate answer.
Governor, that's most of the questions that have been asked up to this point, so you can.
Well, absolutely. I will, thanks again, John, for joining us. I want to tell you that from 5810, we will be donating some polio immunizations in your name for being with us tonight. We certainly appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we're going to move to another part. You know, for doing a district conference on the installment plan is a little challenging, only because we took what used to be maybe a 3-day weekend, and 3 short hours we've had a district conference, and it's been wonderful and meaty. But what we haven't had is sort of that emphasis on our own district accomplishments, and that's part of district conferences, is to be able to celebrate your year. So we're going to take just a few minutes and go through some things that this district has been able to accomplish. One of the things that is unique, I think, we always talk about Rotary being so involved in the community. Community is a big portion of Rotary and our involvement in our communities. Well, we've had some folks who have been singled out by their communities for some extremely top-notch awards. And I wanted to share that with the district, and not just a little article. I wanted to share with you and invite them here tonight. You'll probably have to screen through and make sure that you can see these folks as we talk about them. But first is our, I believe she led our 4-way test, President Katie Ridge from the Greenville Club. She was selected by their newspaper as Newsmaker of the Year. Katie has not only served well as president this year, she is absolutely ubiquitous around the city. She has served on so many things, and we all know her well as the best cheerleader for the haunted house that's ever been created. So Katie, we are so proud of you. Congratulations. You get a big 5810 shout out for making the news in Greenville, Texas. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
Our next winner is Carolyn Wicker. I don't know if Carolyn's with us tonight. I hope she is. She's from the Grand Prairie Club. Carolyn is a past president of the Grand Prairie Club and a practicing veterinarian. Carolyn has kept her club at the forefront of ramp building, and because of the profile that has brought to her club, the Grand Prairie Chamber this year named Dr. Wicker for all the things that she does, not only in her professional life, as well as in her Rotary work and other work, good work around the city, but she was named Citizen of the Year. So Dr. Wicker, are you with us tonight? I saw Patty was here.
She is not. Patty Brock said she had a previous engagement.
Okay, well, we're so sorry, but if you know Carolyn and see Carolyn, please give her a big shout out. And next we have from the Allen Club, we have Fire Chief John Boyd. I believe John was going to try to be with us tonight, although he is leading the City of Allen's pandemic response team. So it was very, very difficult for him to promise he could be with us tonight. But he was named by the Allen ISD as the 2020 Friend of Education. What a tremendous thing for a fire chief to be singled out by the ISD. Not only does he help them with their buildings and all the interaction, what I truly loved was he mentors students. Now, doesn't that sound like a Rotarian? So John, we are so proud of you. John, were you able to be with us tonight? I don't believe he was. He's probably going with the pandemic. Our last community hero that we're just going to single out tonight is Stan Lawrence. And Stan is from the Rockwall. I know he was here tonight. Stan received the first annual Hometown Heroes Award. What an amazing thing. He helps veterans with so many issues, especially where he can help in his dental work. He gives dental service to vets. He encourages other community veterans or dentists to contribute to our wonderful veterinarians. And he's been given a Congressional Recognition Award. But this year, he was given the very first Rockwall Hometown Heroes Award. So Stan, we are so proud of you as a Rotarian doing that. So thank you, Dr. Lawrence. We congratulate all four of these major accomplishments, and we are proud to call you Rotarians. So thank you all for being with us. The next thing I wanted to go through tonight is every year we have the opportunity at a conference to have our youth exchange with us. Now, our youth exchange folks had a very challenging year because they were all over the globe when COVID-19 hit. And so to introduce us to our youth exchange folks that we have with us tonight, I want to introduce you to Mike Pugh. Mike Pugh stepped in as the chairman of Youth Exchange this year after having served next to Sam Zorro for so many years. Of course, we lost Sam earlier this year, and the program is continuing in the same vein without even missing a step. So Mike, I'd like for you to take it over and introduce us to our Youth Exchange folks who are with us tonight.
Thanks, Beverly. We know that this year has been just devastating for Youth Exchange with all of the pandemic issues around the world. One of the things that we had to deal with having our students in other countries and also having the students from other countries here with us is how to get them back home in a safe, effective manner. We worked with the other representatives in their countries, their parents, myself, and as many Rotarians as we could to make sure that we got the quickest, effective, and safest way to get the students home. I can tell you now that all of our students are home, and all of our inbound students from other countries are back home with their parents. Our last student from Italy got home yesterday. There was a decision by his parents and the Italian officials that he remain here for a couple of months just because of the pandemic in Italy was not safe for him to come home. Unfortunately, again, the pandemic has taken its toll. Our short term and our long term for this coming year have been canceled. The abundance of caution and the safety of our students is really the number one thing. The safety is probably the most important thing of our students. So we wanted to make sure that we did the right thing for the students to make sure that they try and get something out of this. But unfortunately, the exchange is going to have to be canceled for this year. But we are working on the 21-22 year of getting some of our students to go on the exchanges on those years. We have 4 different students with us tonight. I'm hoping that they're still on. And I'm just going to give their first name, let them introduce themselves, tell where they were going to go, what type of exchange they're going to go to, and anything else that they might want to say. So Grayson, why don't you start out?
Hi everyone, I'm Grayson. So this year I was going to go to Italy as part of the long-term exchange. I go to City Lab High School. I'm going to be a junior next year. And thank you guys so much for your support.
Thanks, Grayson. Jack. Jack, if you're talking, you're on mute. Maybe Jack had to leave us. Julia.
Hi.
Hi, Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia. I was going to do the long-term exchange in Switzerland. I go to Memorial High School, and I'm going to be a senior next year.
All right. Luke, are you still with us here?
Yes, sir.
All right.
My name is Luke Edwards. I attend Newman Smith High School in Carrollton, and I've just finished the 9th grade. I was going to do a short-term exchange in Germany this summer, and I would just like to thank the district for this amazing opportunity and the recommendation for me to experience it.
Thanks to all of our students. Jack, are you on?
Yes, my bad. My mic was not working.
Go ahead.
All right, so hey guys, I'm Jack. I was gonna do long term to Germany. So yeah, I'm a sophomore right now. I'm like pretty exciting about the whole stuff. So yeah.
Thanks, Jack. We're hoping that the students that we have applied this year will apply again next year. And I know that at least one of them is already looking forward to going to Switzerland next year. So I'm hoping that that we get all of our students that applied this year to continue on. So I'm going to give it back to Beverly, and if there's any questions, please let me know.
Well, Mike, thank you so much. And students, we are so proud of you. We're sorry that you either got cut short or you didn't get to go. There will be other opportunities, I know, for us to continue to work together, both here locally as well as reaching out across the ocean to the country of your choice. Maybe we have Zoom exchanges. So we'll work together with you to keep you all engaged. We're proud of you, and we just wanted to thank you for being willing to go represent Rotary well. So next, I just wanted to give a quick shout out. We had 17 major donors this year. 17 is quite a lot in one year. And so we're really proud of that. As a matter of fact, we even had 2 that came up during COVID. So we're not always just concentrating on headlines. Sometimes we are able to get those things, other things accomplished too, that are so important. So I'm going to read names very quickly and just appreciate so much these folks' generosity. And major donor level for our visitors and for our exchange students, that means that these folks have given $10,000 or more to the Rotary Foundation. So we had Gregory Blair in Rockwall, President Brian Brokaw, he's the president of Wiley East Fork, and he joined, completed his major donor in March of 2020. So during the pandemic, he became a major donor. We have Bill and Sylvia Cornett from the Allen Club. Their estate came through. Mike Fenton of Waxahachie, Susan Harris of Park Cities, Tim Hartley of Rockwall, Daniel Henry of Waxahachie, Ken, and excuse me, I shouldn't say Ken, we know him as Chris. Chris and Patricia Henry from Plano East, Robert and Carol Hewitt, Jerry Kizhaya of Plano East, Thomas Norris of Rockwall, Rick Petrakowski from Rockwall Breakfast, Bill Sanderson, our parliamentarian for the district. He became a major donor. Our own DGND, Howard Templin, became a major donor this year. Chuck Williams from the DeSoto Club. Oh, by the way, both Bill and Howard are from the Dallas Club. Robert Yudkin is our latest major donor. He came, he is the president of the Addison Club. He's with us tonight. And he became a major donor in May of 2020. And we also lastly had Sam Zaro, who did pass away earlier this year, a huge loss to our district. But in November of this year, he and his wife became a major donor. So the dedication of those major donors makes a real difference in the foundation. I also wanted to say that we had another Arch Clump member join us this year from the Waxahachie Club, Jerry and Shirley Chapman. And then we had the Horace Cave Foundation from the Dallas Club, achieved Bequest Society Level 2, as well as our own DGN Max Duplant achieved Level 2 Bequest Society. So she's from the Irving Las Colinas Club. I just want to all of you all know how important your contributions are and how special it was. And it deserved to be recognized at a district conference. And we have two short things to go through very quickly to end up our year. We have a quick video. Glenn, could you run our video for us? And this is just pictures of 2020 memories. So Glenn. There's no music, but that's okay. I've never seen it. I found this
Love them.
Folks, I apologize. I don't know why the soundtrack's not working, and some of the pictures seem to not be working, but we will we'll be showing this again at the awards dinner, so you'll get a chance to see yourselves on screen. Okay. Okay, thank you, Glenn. I'm sorry for the technical glitches, and we'll make sure that we fix those. To end this, the most appropriate way to end our district conference is to think about what we've been through these past few months together. And I call it silver linings because, and that's exactly what Hewko referred to. John said that, you know, we have the dark clouds, but every once in a while there's silver linings. Well, I want you to know that we have had an amazing amount of silver linings in 2020, thanks to the efforts of all of you and all of your club mates. So Glenn, do you have our first slide? Okay. Silver linings, how District 58 took on COVID-19, and indeed we did. There's a famous quote. Next slide, Glenn. When we're kind to others, it not only changes you, it changes the world. You know, we were told to shelter in place, but to a Rotarian, that just means finding a new way to serve. So our first challenge was we found so many ways to serve, and it didn't take very long for us to look around and figure out what needed to be done. And so, go ahead, Glenn, for the next slide. Food very quickly became a need. And so our foundation team took excess DDF money that we had not pledged to another club. We had, plus some other monies, like some travel money for John and I to go to Hawaii, and a few other things that we did not spend. And we offered another round of DDF grants. 16 clubs received $1,250 to buy supplies for any food distribution point of their choice that they work with. Most clubs put in extra money with that contribution from the district. And so over $43,000 was contributed to organizations. And you have to understand, to put that in perspective, most clubs had already completed their grants, and so had the district. We thought we could have just sat back, but you didn't do that. You continued to look. Safety became a concern, and many members handmade masks, and they took them to all kinds of places, to med techs and to grocery stores, and wherever there was a need, they made sure that masks were there because they wanted everyone to be safe. We had a disaster recovery grant that Secretary John mentioned. $25,000 was offered to 525 districts around the world, but there was a finite amount of money. But 5810 got one of those because we moved very quickly and got Parkland Hospital some much needed respirators and a unified freezer, a specimen freezer, that not only do they need it for COVID, but they can use it afterward as well. And suddenly, random acts of kindness became the norm. You placed flags at City Hall, and you had early installation that flagged customers at their homes. You loaded vans with diapers for a Pampers drive. Food was delivered to medical personnel and our first responders. You purchased gift cards as thank yous to frontline workers, whether it be in the grocery store or if they could accept it, first responders, although many of them refused and asked us to move that contribution to someone else. But they went to essential business workers, delivery drivers. You visited the restaurant where you met as a club, and you did frequent takeout because you wanted to make sure that the restaurant knew how grateful we were that they take care of us during normal times. We took up collections for food industry personnel and shared money with them. You delivered Meals on Wheels. You baked food. You shopped for elderly neighbors. You gave a 5-day stay at a timeshare for a fireman's fundraiser. You delivered food to first responders. You delivered Meals on Wheels, which you do on a daily basis, and yet you kept it up during the time when everybody else decided they couldn't get out. You kept your Meals on Wheels commitment. We kept Adopt-a-Spot cleanup obligations, never missing a beat on when that was to be done. You donated funds to social service organizations like Sharing Life Outreach, MetroCrest Services. Gift baskets were made for teachers to show appreciation. You donated essential supplies to businesses that needed it, like hand sanitizer or COVID wipes. Even things that were from your last fundraiser, you gave those kind of essential supplies. With food, supplies, a tablet was bought for an underprivileged school child who was trying to learn at home and didn't have the tools to be able to keep her lessons. We did a district-wide blood drive. We're going to be doing another one. We organized blood drives at churches, Rotary meetings. You stayed engaged. You had better attendance on Zoom sometimes than you've had face-to-face. We utilized every virtual platform we could think of. Attendance was up. Former members were invited. We actually had meetings with our international partners where we've done global grants. We actually got to physically go to their meeting and they came to ours. We checked on members with phone trees. We did live studio broadcast and the numbers went up. We posted them on YouTube. Suddenly, Rotary was a concept, excuse me, of service that isn't often, as often considered. And in the district, we couldn't do without our 5th area of fun on our 4-way test. We had fun. So we had district socials of a happy hour, a pep rally, game night. We didn't have fundraisers. We didn't have golf tournaments, no trip to Hawaii, no 3-day conference. Yet, it wasn't about what we sacrificed, what we didn't have. It's more about 2020 is what we did as an opportunity to serve. We had more service than we ever counted on and more grants, and we had each other. And when the storm clouds threatened, we found those silver linings. So kudos to you, 5810. You kept Rotary alive during a time when, just as Hewko said, had we sat back and not met, we probably wouldn't have an organization to continue to support. So I thank you for everything you did. It's not over. We're continuing. And as we have new challenges and opportunities, I know that we will continue the vision that we've all put together. And together we definitely are better. So guys, that concludes our district conference for 2020. I want to thank you for your attendance. We certainly thank our RI Director-elect, Susie Howe, for joining us tonight. We also, we thank for John Hewko and his wonderful timely message. And lastly, we started out the meeting, every meeting of the district conference with our phrases from Why Rotary. why do we do Rotary? Why do we join? Why do we stay? So why Rotary? It's because we care, and it shows. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening, and go make tomorrow amazing. Thank you.
Beverly, good job.